The wind had been howling through Millbrook all night, rattling windows and carrying the faint scent of rain. Sheriff Dana Harlow sat alone in her office, the clock above her desk ticking past midnight. She was halfway through a cup of stale coffee when the phone rang, a shrill sound that cut straight through the silence. "Sheriff's Department?" she answered, her voice rough from hours of quiet. A nervous voice replied, "Sheriff Harlow. It's Mrs. Claymore. From Maple Street. You need to come quick. There's someone or something inside the old Pearson house again." Dana rubbed her eyes. "Mrs. Claymore, that house has been empty for 10 years. "I know what I saw," the woman insisted. "The lights came on, one room after another. No one's lived there since. Well, since that night." Dana hesitated. Everyone in town knew that night, the night Thomas Pearson died. The case had been ruled an accident. Still, stories about the house had never really died. Kids dared each other to go inside. Old folks swore the place was cursed. "I'll check it out," Dana said finally, grabbing her flashlight and keys. Outside, the air was heavy with fog. Her cruiser's headlights cut narrow beams through the mist as she drove toward Maple Street. The town slept quietly, white porches, drooping trees, and mailboxes lined like sentinels in the dark. Only the Pearson house stood apart, its roof line sharp against the cloudy sky, its windows black as if watching. When Dana parked in front of it, she noticed the gate was open. The metal hinges groaned as the wind pushed it back and forth. She scanned the yard, overgrown grass, fallen branches. The faint shimmer of light in the upstairs window. She gripped her flashlight tighter. "Probably just teenagers," she muttered. The front porch creaked under her boots. The door was unlocked. Inside, the air smelled of dust and something faintly sweet like burned candles. Her flashlight beam swept across the old furniture. It's covered in white sheets like ghosts frozen in time. "Millbrook Sheriff's Department," she called out. "If anyone's in here, come out now." Only silence answered. She took a step deeper inside. Her light caught on the picture frames hanging crooked on the wall, all faces of the Pearson family. Thomas, his wife Ellen, and their young daughter Lucy, smiling, happy. Frozen in another time, Dana had seen those same photos in the police files years ago, back when she was just a rookie. The night Thomas Pearson died in his own home. An electrical fire, they'd said. No foul play. But Dana had always thought something about the report felt off. She walked into the living room, scanning for signs of intruders. That's when she saw it, a photograph sitting on the mantel. Not dusty, not yellowed. New dot, it showed the same Pearson family on the front porch, smiling again. But something was different. Thomas Pearson was missing from the picture. Her breath caught. She picked it up, flipping it over. The back was clean, no date, no writing. But the photo paper was warm to the touch, as if it had just come out of a printer. The sound of floorboards creaking upstairs made her heart jump. "Sheriff's Department." She called again, her voice firm. "If someone's up there, I suggest you come down before you make things worse." No response. Only a slow, dragging sound, like someone moving across the floor. She climbed the staircase, one step at a time. Her flashlight flickered once, then steadied. The walls were lined with family portraits, but the closer she got to the top, the stranger they seemed. In each one, Thomas's face was blurred, like it had been smudged out by a hand. The last door on the right was half open. Light flickered faintly from inside, like a candle flame. Dana pushed the door with her boot and stepped in. The master bedroom was empty. Dust covered everything except the dresser, where a small lantern glowed weakly. Its flame danced, though there was no wick, no oil, no reason for it to burn. Dana's radio crackled. "Sheriff, you there?" It was Deputy Carter back at the station. "Yeah," she said, eyes fixed on the lantern. "I'm inside the Pearson place. Looks like someone's been here recently. Anyone with you?" She hesitated. Not sure yet. The radio hissed, then went dead. Dana turned back to the mantel, her pulse racing. Something about the air felt heavier now, charged, like the room itself was holding its breath. The faint scent of smoke grew stronger then from behind her. A voice whispered low and close. Find me before the light goes out. She spun around. No one was there. The lantern's flame flickered violently, then went dark. The entire house fell silent again. Only the steady ticking of the hall clock below echoed through the floorboards. Dana exhaled slowly, trying to calm the tremor in her hands. Maybe it was her imagination. Maybe the stories had just gotten into her head. But when she turned to leave, she noticed the photo in her hand again and froze. Thomas Pearson's figure had reappeared in the picture. This time, he wasn't standing with his family. He was standing behind her sheriff. Dana Harlow didn't sleep that night. She sat in her office at dawn, the photo from the Pearson house lying on her desk under the glow of a single desk lamp. The picture was the Sam Thomas Pearson's family smiling on their porch, but there he was again, behind her. His eyes in the photo were pale and distant, staring straight at her as if he knew she was looking. She'd checked the back of the photo again and again. No fingerprints, no marks, no reason it should exist. She'd even called the town clerk's office asking if anyone had been inside the old Pearson place lately. No one had. The property was still abandoned, no power, no mail, no visitors in years. Still, she'd felt that presence last night. She wasn't one for ghost stories. But what she saw and heard wasn't something she could explain away. Sharp knock on her office door made her jump. It was Deputy Carter, a tall, tired-looking man with a kind face. He'd been with her for 5 years, steady, loyal, and not easily spooked. "You look like you've seen a ghost," he said, setting 2 coffees on her desk. "Maybe I have," she muttered, sliding the photo toward him. "Tell me what you see." Carter squinted. "That's the Pearsons, right?" "Wait, wasn't the father supposed to be dead?" "Exactly," Dana said. "He died in that house 10 years ago. But now he's back in the picture. He wasn't there before." Carter frowned. "You sure about that?" "I'm sure." He studied the picture again, then set it down carefully. "You think someone's messing with you? Some sick prank. That's what I thought last night. But then I heard him, Carter. A voice. It said," she hesitated, feeling foolish. "It said, 'Find me before the light goes out.'" Carter didn't laugh. He just leaned back, thoughtful. "Thomas Pearson's death. That was ruled an accident, right?" "Yeah, electrical fire. He was found in the basement. But the case file was thin, no photos, no forensics. Just a report signed off by Sheriff Dalton." Carter raised an eyebrow. "Your old boss?" "Yeah," she said quietly. "He handled the case before I joined the force." For a long moment, neither of them spoke. The hum of the fluorescent light filled the silence. Then Dana grabbed her coat. "I'm going back there," Carter sighed. "You sure that's a good idea?" "No," she said, "but I need answers." The morning fog still clung to the ground when Dana's cruiser pulled up to the Pearson house again. Sunlight broke through in thin silver beams, making the broken windows glint like mirrors. She and Carter stepped onto the porch. The door was still unlocked, creaking open as if it had been waiting for her. The air inside was cold and still. The photograph on the mantel was gone. Carter swept his flashlight across the room. Whoever was here cleaned up after themselves. "No dust on the mantel either," Dana said. "Someone's been in and out again since last night." She followed her instincts upstairs to the same room where she'd heard the voice. Everything looked the same, the lantern, the dresser, the crooked mirror, but now there was a faint trail of footprints in the dust, leading toward the far wall. "Hold the light steady," she said, kneeling down. The prints were bare, no shoes, no treads, just the outline of human feet. Faint and strange. "They go right into the wall," Carter said quietly. "Not into it," Dana corrected, pressing her hand against the faded wallpaper. "Behind it?" She tapped her knuckles against the wall. "Hollow, get me the knife from my kit." Carter handed it over, and Dana sliced through the wallpaper. The blade caught on something wood paneling, nailed over a doorway. She pried one of the boards loose. A narrow passage lay behind it, hidden for years. Carter shone his light inside. "You've got to be kidding me." The space was barely wide enough for one person. The walls were lined with old newspaper clippings, yellowed headlines about Millbrook's missing funds. Town projects delayed. Anonymous whistleblower exposes corruption. And right in the center of the wall hung another photograph this time. Care of Thomas Pearson alone, standing beside a large metal box labeled Millbrook Electric Co. His face was grim, determined. Dana's pulse quickened. He was investigating something before he died. Carter nodded slowly. Looks like he found something big. At the far end of the passage, a small table held a broken lantern, a pile of burnt papers, and a cassette recorder coated in dust. Dana picked it up, turned it over, and pressed play. Static filled the air. Then a faint male voice broke through. "If you're hearing this, they found me. The truth's buried in the light. Don't trust them. Not even the ones wearing badges." Then silence. Carter looked at her. "What the hell does that mean?" Dana's jaw tightened. "It means this wasn't an accident." Thomas Pearson was silenced. They stood there for a long moment, the weight of it settling in. Then something moved softly, like a whisper. The mirror on the bedroom wall cracked down the middle with a sharp snapping sound. Dana spun around, flashlight trembling slightly. "Did you see that?" Carter's voice was low. "Yeah, but I don't think we're the only ones here." From the hallway came a faint creaking, slow and steady, as if someone or something was pacing just out of sight. The lantern on the table flickered back to life, glowing a deep, unnatural orange dot, and from somewhere beyond the wall, Thomas Pearson's voice whispered again, clearer this time. "Find me before the light goes out." Sheriff Dana Harlow had seen crime scenes, car wrecks and things most people couldn't stomach, but nothing had ever left her feeling like this. The Pearson house wasn't just a crime scene anymore. It was alive, like the walls themselves were listening. She stood in the hidden passageway with Deputy Carter, the dust thick in the air, the old cassette recorder still in her hand. The voice of Thomas Pearson echoed faintly from the machine speakers. "Don't trust them. Not even the ones wearing badges." Dana replayed the message, trying to catch every crack and tone. The words made her stomach twist. Her mind flashed back to the old case file, signed by Sheriff Dalton, her mentor, the man who had taught her everything she knew about justice. But if Dalton had buried something, what else had he lied about? "Let's get this recorder back to the station," Carter said quietly, brushing dust from his jacket. "Yeah," Dana replied, though she didn't move. Her eyes were fixed on the far end of the hall. "Wait," she whispered. "Do you hear that?" A faint sound drifted through the old wood, the soft click of another tape starting somewhere upstairs. Carter frowned. "There's another recorder running." Dana followed the sound up the narrow staircase, her flashlight cutting through the shadows. The steps groaned beneath their boots. The noise grew louder, a mechanical whir, then a man's voice again. The same voice. "Find me. Find me before the light goes out." It repeated over and over, warped like an echo bouncing through time. The sound led them to a small room at the end of the hall, a child's room. The wallpaper peeled away in long strips, revealing faded stars and moons. A crib sat in the corner, untouched for years. On the dresser, a small tape recorder played endlessly, its reels spinning. Dana turned it off and scanned the room. Her flashlight caught something strange. Handprints on the wall, tiny ones, smudged in dust. Lucy Pearson's, maybe? Carter checked the closet. "Empty," he said. "No sign anyone's been here recently." "Someone has," Dana murmured. "The batteries in that recorder are new." She took a slow breath. The air felt heavy, like the room was holding something it didn't want to let go. Then came another sound, not from the recorder this time. A soft tap, tap, tap. From the hallway outside, Dana stepped out, her heart beating fast. "Hello?" No answer. Only that steady tapping, now faster. Moving down the hall toward the master bedroom, Carter followed, his flashlight trembling slightly. "Maybe it's a pipe or a raccoon, Carter," she said sharply. "That's footsteps." The sound stopped. They reached the bedroom door. It was closed now, though. Dana was sure she'd left it open. She exchanged a look with Carter, then slowly turned the handle. The door creaked open to reveal nothing. The lantern on the dresser burned low, flickering weakly, but on the mirror. Words had appeared drawn in the dust, just visible in the light. "Look below." Dana stepped closer. Below what? The floorboard beneath her right foot gave a soft groan. Instinct kicked in. She knelt, pulled her knife again, and pried up the old plank. A square metal box sat hidden in the floor cavity, small and rusted shut. Carter crouched beside her. "What is that?" "Evidence," she said. "Or a secret someone didn't want found." She used the knife to pry it open. Inside were papers, photos, and a small notebook, its leather cracked with age. On the first page, in neat handwriting, were the words, "They're watching, even now." Her pulse quickened as she flipped through the pages. Each one was filled with notes, names, dates, sketches of the Millbrook power grid, and one repeated phrase scrawled across several pages. "The light hides the truth." Before she could read further, the lantern flickered once, twice, then went out completely, plunging the room into darkness. "Carter," she called softly. "I'm right here." His voice came back, strained. "My light's dead too." Then, from the hallway, came the unmistakable sound of footsteps again. Slow, deliberate, heavy. But this time, they weren't just moving. They were approaching. Dana's heart thudded in her chest. "Who's there?" she shouted. No reply, only the creaking of the floorboards, closer and closer, then silence. The air grew cold. Frost crept across the mirror's surface, spreading like spiderwebs. A faint glow returned to the room, but it wasn't from their flashlights. It came from the mirror, a pale blue shimmer forming the outline of a man's face. Thomas Pearson, his reflection was clear, its expression desperate. His lips moved without sound. Then the mirror fogged, and new words appeared in the condensation. "He knows you're here." Dana stumbled back, breathing hard. "What the hell does that mean?" Carter grabbed her arm. "We're leaving now." They rushed down the stairs, their boots echoing through the empty house. But just as Dana reached the front door, something made her stop. On the wall by the doorframe hung another photo, one she hadn't seen before. It showed the Pearson house, same as always. But standing in the yard were two figures, a man and a woman. The man was Thomas Pearson. The woman was Dana. Her throat tightened. The photo was dated, handwritten in red ink, taken November 6, 2025. She looked at her watch. It was November 6, 2025. The photo trembled on the wall, then fell face down onto the floor, and somewhere deep inside the house, another voice began to play, faint, distant but unmistakable. This time, it wasn't Thomas Pearson. It was Sheriff Dalton. Sheriff Dana Harlow drove back to the Pearson house before dawn, unable to shake what she'd seen the night before. That photograph, the one showing her standing beside Thomas Pearson, dated for that very day, burned in her thoughts like a fever. She'd locked it in her desk at the station. But even that didn't help. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw his reflection in the mirror. He wasn't angry. He wasn't at peace either. He was waiting. The house loomed in the gray morning light, its roofline jagged against the fog. Deputy Carter was already there, leaning against his cruiser, coffee steaming in his hand. "You really came back," he said as she approached. "I couldn't stay away," Dana replied. "That photo wasn't just a coincidence. Someone wants us here." Carter gave her a look. Someone or something. They stepped inside together. The boards creaked under their boots like a groaning old man. The faint smell of smoke still lingered, mixed with the earthy scent of rain. Don't everything look the same? The dust, the broken lantern, the empty rooms. But Dana noticed something, small, teeny cracks running down the wall of the master bedroom. The one where she'd seen the mirror frost over. She ran her fingers along the cracks. The wallpaper shifted slightly under her touch. "Help me with this," she said. Goddard grabbed the edge, and together they pulled. The paper tore away in long strips, revealing wooden boards nailed crudely across a hidden doorway. "Well, I'll be damned," Carter muttered. "There's a room back there." Dana's heartbeat quickened. A locked room. They pried off the boards one by one until the doorway stood open, revealing a dark space beyond. The smell hit them first, stale paper and something faintly metallic, like rust and old blood. Dana clicked her flashlight on. The beam revealed a small study, cramped, dust-choked, but strangely untouched. A desk sat against the far wall, its drawers half open, covered in ash. Burn marks climbed up one corner, as if someone had tried to destroy something in a hurry. On the desk lay the remains of several charred papers and a single item that had escaped the fire. A notebook. Its leather cover was cracked, but the initials TP were still visible. Thomas Pearson's. Dana whispered. Carter leaned closer. "Looks like he tried to burn it before he died." Dana flipped it open carefully. The handwriting inside was jagged and rushed, each page covered in scrawled notes, diagrams, and strange sketches of electrical panels. She read aloud, "They warned me to stop asking questions. Said I didn't understand how deep this goes. The light hides the truth. The power lines, they're not what we think." She frowned. "The light hides the truth. He mentioned that on the tape, didn't he?" Carter asked. "Yeah," Dana said softly. "But what the hell does it mean?" Carter shined his flashlight toward a shelf along the wall. Old files were stacked, their brittle folders labeled Town Projects 2015. Millbrook Energy Plans, Funding Records. He flipped one open. Looks like he was digging into the town's construction deals. Asterisk, the same year Dalton became sheriff. Dana's pulse quickened. He thought Dalton was involved in something dirty. As she spoke, the light flickered. The bulb in her flashlight dimmed, then flared bright again. "Battery's fine," she muttered. "That's weird." Then she saw it faintly scratched into the wood beneath the desk. "He knows." Her throat went dry. "Carter," she said quietly, "shine your light here." He crouched beside her, his beam landing on the message. "He knows what?" Before Dana could answer, another sound filled the room. A faint hum. It came from the far wall, where an old metal panel was bolted shut. Dana stepped closer. "That's not part of the house wiring." She tried the latch. It was stuck, rusted shut. Carter handed her a screwdriver from his belt. She pried it open. Behind it lay a small generator, still wired to the main power grid, even though the Pearson house had been disconnected for years. The hum grew louder, steady, and unnatural. Carter's voice was low. "That's impossible. The whole street's grid was replaced last decade." "Unless someone kept this line alive," Dana said. "Someone who didn't want the power cut." Suddenly, the lights in the study flared to life, even though there were no bulbs, no visible power source. The air shimmered. Papers lifted slightly, floating like they were caught in a breeze that didn't exist. Then a faint whisper filled the room, Thomas Pearson's voice, unmistakable. "Dana, you're close. Don't stop. Don't trust him." Carter's face went pale. "He said your name." Dana stared at the desk, at the notebook, at the faint outline of a burned photograph half melted into the wood. It showed two men shaking hands, Thomas Pearson and another man. His face burned away except for a single visible detail. A sheriff's badge. Her blood ran cold. "Dalton." She breathed. The whisper came again, louder this time. Shaking the air. "He's here." The lights exploded, glass shattering, sparks flying. The hum turned into a roar, a wave of static, like a storm passing through the walls. Dana dropped to the floor as the notebook flew from the desk, pages whipping through the air. Then silence. When she looked up, Carter was gone. "Carter," she called out, voice shaking. "Carter, where are you?" No answer, only the faint echo of footsteps, slow, measured. Moving toward the hall, she grabbed her flashlight and stumbled after the sound, calling his name again. But when she reached the doorway, she froze. Carter's flashlight lay on the floor, still on. Its beam aimed straight at the mirror in the master bedroom. In the reflection, She saw herself and behind her, standing in the shadows, the shape of a man with a sheriff's badge gleaming faintly on his chest. The house was silent. Two silent Sheriff Dana Harlow stood frozen in the doorway, staring at the empty beam of Deputy Carter's flashlight. The reflection in the cracked mirror still burned in her mind, the shadow of a man with a sheriff's badge gleaming faintly in the dark. But when she turned around, no one was there. Only the faint smell of smoke and dust hanging in the still air. "Carter." She called again. Her voice echoed through the house. "Carter, answer me." Nothing. She grabbed his flashlight and swept it across the room. No sign of a struggle. No tracks, no sound except her own breathing. It was as if he'd vanished into thin air. Her hands trembled as she stepped back into the hallway. The walls seemed to close in on her, each creak of the floorboards echoing like footsteps that weren't her own. She forced herself toward the door. She needed air. She needed space to think. Outside, the morning light was dull and gray, the fog still clinging to the trees. The town beyond looked almost too still, like a painting of Millbrook rather than the real thing. Dana leaned against her cruiser and tried to steady her breathing. "You're not losing it," she whispered. "You're just missing something." She glanced at the notebook she'd pulled from the locked room, Thomas Pearson's final writings. She flipped to the last entry, written in uneven, desperate handwriting. "He came last night. Said it was for the good of Millbrook. Said the truth would destroy everything. I told him the light hides nothing. He didn't like that." The entry ended there. The ink smeared across the page. Dana shut the book. She knew who he was now. Sheriff Dalton, her mentor. Her friend, and maybe her enemy. By late afternoon, Dana was back in town, sitting on the front porch of Mrs. Claymore, the elderly neighbor who had called her the first night. The woman's wrinkled hands wrapped tightly around a steaming cup of tea. "I told you that house wasn't right," Mrs. Claymore said, shaking her head. "You go near it long enough, it starts talking back." "Mrs. Claymore," Dana said gently, "you've lived on Maple Street your whole life, right? 71 years. Then tell me what really happened to Thomas Pearson." The woman's eyes darted away, her lips tightening. "You wouldn't want to know, Sheriff." "I need to know," Dana pressed. "People are missing. My deputy's gone. I'm not walking away until I get the truth." Mrs. Claymore sighed, the sound long and tired. She set her cup down and looked toward the distant outline of the Pearson house. Thomas was a good man, too curious for his own good. He worked for the town's power company, smart as a whip. But he started asking questions about where the money was going, about why. Millbrook's bills were higher than they should have been. He said someone was siphoning power off the grid. Not money, power. Dana frowned. "You mean electricity?" "That's what we all thought." But Thomas said it wasn't about light bulbs and wires. He said the current was being used for something else, something they built under the town. "Who's they?" Dana asked. Mrs. Claymore hesitated. Her voice dropped to a whisper. "The sheriff's office, the mayor, the power company. All of them. They said it was just an energy project. But Thomas found files that said otherwise. He said they were storing memories." Dana blinked. "Memories. Don't look at me like that," Mrs. Claymore said. "That's what he told me. They were experimenting with electromagnetic frequencies, said they could capture what people thought, what they remembered, even after death. He said the light could hold people's echoes. That's why he called it the truth in the light." Dana's skin prickled. "And Dalton." The woman's eyes filled with tears. "Thomas went to him for protection. He thought Dalton would help him expose it. But the next night, there was that fire, and Thomas was gone." Dana left the house shaken to her core. The air outside felt heavier, colder. Her mind raced as she pieced it together. Dalton had been sheriff then. The power company had funded that so-called energy expansion. Then Thomas had found out it wasn't energy at all. It was something far darker. As she got into her cruiser, the radio crackled to life. Faint static at first, then a distorted voice. "Dana." Her blood ran cold. It was Carter's voice. "Carter. Carter, is that you?" "Don't." Trust him. The house then static again. She slammed the receiver down and started the engine. The sound of the radio filled the cabin again. This time, a man's voice she recognized instantly. Sheriff Dalton. You shouldn't have gone back there, Dana, the voice said calmly. Some secrets are meant to stay buried. You're not ready to carry what that house remembers. The radio went dead. Dana sat frozen, gripping the steering wheel so tight her knuckles turned white. Then she turned the key, revved the engine, and drove straight toward the sheriff's office. Inside, the walls of Dalton's old office were lined with dusty files and fading photos of Millbrook's golden years. She went straight to the locked cabinet in the corner, Dalton's private archive. She smashed it open with a crowbar. Inside were thick binders marked Pearson Investigation Power Expansion Project and Confidential. Dana opened the first binder and froze. There were photographs of Thomas Pearson, not dead, but restrained, eyes open, terrified. Wires attached to his head, lights glowing around him. A machine behind him hummed, labeled LMP Reactor Light Memory Project. Her stomach turned. Dalton's signature was on every page in the final report. A single note was scrawled in Dalton's handwriting. The experiment succeeded. Pearson's mind remains within the grid. Containment required. Dana's breath caught. Pearson wasn't haunting the house. He was the house and the lights on Maple Street. They were his heartbeat. Sheriff Dana Harlow sat in her cruiser long after sunset. The files from Dalton's cabinet spread across the passenger seat. Every page made her skin crawl. The Light Memory Project. It's a secret experiment that had turned human consciousness into data stored within electricity. Thomas Pearson hadn't just died. He'd been trapped, absorbed, by the system he helped build. And now the system was alive. She flipped to the last photo again. Thomas sitting in that chair. Wires snaking from his head, eyes wide with terror. The caption under the image read, "Test subject retained cognitive patterns for 0.43 seconds. Post-death." But one line scribbled in Dalton's handwriting below, it chilled her. Subject remains active. Contained within grid at Maple Street sector. She stared at those words, her reflection flickering faintly in the windshield as the streetlights buzzed to life outside. The same lights that had been flickering every night for weeks. By the time Dana reached Maple Street again, the fog had rolled in thick, swallowing everything but the faint yellow glow of her headlights. The Pearson house stood like a dark monument at the end of the road, silent, patient, waiting for her. She killed the engine and stepped out. Gun drawn, flashlight ready. "All right. Thomas," she muttered. "You wanted me to find you? I'm here." As she approached the porch, one of the upstairs lights flickered on. Asterisk, then another. The glow moved from room to room like someone or something was guiding her inside. Her boots crunched over the gravel path. When she reached the door, it opened on its own. Hinges groaning softly. Inside. The air felt alive. Static danced across the walls. The lamps flickered in rhythm with her heartbeat. The sound of a faint hum filled the house, low, steady, electric. She moved through the hallway, past the old portraits. The faces in the frames seemed different now, the eyes sharper, watching. "Thomas," she called. "If you can hear me, talk to me." No answer. Only the faint buzz of power lines outside, then a whisper. So soft she almost missed it. "Dana!" Her breath hitched. "Where are you?" "In the light." The living room lamp flickered once, then burst into a harsh glow. The shadows in the room seemed to bend, pulling toward it. In the reflection of the window, she saw a man's silhouette standing behind her. She spun around, nothing. But when she looked back at the glass, the reflection remained. It was Thomas Pearson. His form shimmered, made of light and static, his face flickering like a half-forgotten memory. "Help me," he whispered, voice trembling through the static. "He's coming." "Thomas, who's coming?" Before he could answer, every light in the room flared blindingly bright. The power surged, the walls shaking with the hum of electricity. Then, darkness. The silence was thick. Only the faint drip of water echoed from somewhere in the house. Dana's flashlight flickered back on. She swept the beam across the room and froze. The mirror on the far wall was glowing faintly, its surface rippling like water. She stepped closer, drawn to it. The glass shimmered, reflecting not the room she stood in, but something else entirely. It showed the same house, but cleaner, brighter, alive. Thomas stood in the reflection at his desk, writing in his notebook. His wife Ellen moved past him, humming softly. Their daughter's laughter echoed faintly. The image was peaceful, until it wasn't. The lights in the reflection began to flicker violently. Thomas looked up suddenly, terror on his face. He shouted something, but his voice was muted. The reflection shook. Ellen grabbed Lucy, screaming. Then the walls of the reflected world caught fire. The light bending and burning until it all vanished in a burst of white. The mirror went black dot. Dana stumbled back, heart hammering. That was the night he died, she whispered. Behind her, the old radio on the shelf crackled to life. DaltonsVoice.com/cold. You shouldn't have come back, Dana. Her stomach dropped. She turned toward the sound, gun raised. Where are you, Dalton? She demanded. The voice chuckled. You think you're chasing ghosts? But ghosts don't exist, Sheriff. Only memories. And memories can be rewritten. The lights in the house flickered again, on, off, on, faster and faster, until the entire room pulsed with a rhythm that felt almost human. Thomas's voice came through the static. Desperate now. Don't listen to him. He's part of it. He built it. Dalton's tone darkened. He volunteered. He wanted immortality. He wanted to be remembered. I gave him that. The radio exploded in sparks, silencing both voices. Dana's flashlight caught something new on the wall. Words scorched into the paint. Black and fresh. He's in the light. Her heart raced. She turned toward the window, staring at the street outside. Every lamppost on Maple Street had come alive, flickering in sequence one, then the next. Then the next, as if something was moving through them, and then she saw it in the nearest lampost's glass. Thomas's face appeared distorted, glowing, trapped inside the light itself. He opened his mouth as if to scream, but no sound came out. The lights down the street began to explode, one by one. As the current raced toward the house, Dana backed away from the window. No. The power surged through the walls, the air humming so loud it hurt. She could feel heat building under her skin, like the electricity itself was alive. Then the mirror lit up again, but this time, it wasn't Thomas inside it, it was Dalton. His face stared back at her, faintly smiling, eyes black as coal. You should have stayed in the dark, Dana. The mirror cracked. The lights went out, and in the sudden, suffocating silence, a single lantern on the desk flickered to life, glowing with the faint outline of Carter's badge inside it. The house was alive. Electricity pulsed through the walls, like blood through veins. Humming in the silence, Sheriff Dana Harlow stood frozen in the middle of the room, her flashlight trembling in her hand. The lantern on the desk glowed faintly, and inside its glass, the outline of Deputy Carter's badge shimmered like a trapped firefly. Carter, she whispered. The badge vibrated, faint static echoing through the air. Then his voice, soft, broken, distant, came through the hum. Dana, leave. Now, she shook her head. Not without you. The lights overhead flickered again, faster this time, sinking with the beating in her chest. Every shadow on the wall seemed to shift, forming outlines of faces, watching her. Whispering through the static, she turned toward the mirror, still cracked from the night before. Her reflection stared back, pale eyes hollow, but behind it, something moved. A shape. A man. Sheriff Dalton. Hello, Dana. His voice drawled, calm and heavy, as if he were standing right beside her. You've seen too much. She raised her gun toward the mirror. Where are you? Right where I've always been, Dalton said. Keeping the town safe. Keeping the power alive. The reflection shifted. Now Dalton stood in what looked like the same room, but lit from within, glowing faintly blue. He wasn't quite real. His features shimmered like a projection. "You think you can stop what we built?" he said. "The Light Memory Project saved Millbrook. It gave us energy that never fades. But you couldn't leave it alone. You killed Pearson." Dana shouted. "You trapped him in here." Dalton smiled faintly. He volunteered. He wanted to prove the human mind could live on. But he couldn't handle what he saw inside the current. His memories broke him. Here became noise. Dana's hand trembled. Then why are the lights still flickering? Why does he keep calling for help? Dalton's reflection leaned closer. Because he's still alive. And soon, you'll join him. Before she could move, the mirror shattered, glass exploding outward like a blast of wind. The room went dark. The hum grew louder, shaking the walls, vibrating through her bones. "Thomas," she yelled into the chaos. "If you can hear me, fight him." The lantern on the desk flared white-hot, spilling light across the floor. Shapes formed in the brightness. Thomas Pearson, his body glowing, face twisted in agony. "Help me," he gasped. "He's in the grid. He controls the light. Tell me how to stop it." Dana shouted. "The generator. Under the house. Destroy it before he..." Dalton's voice cut through like thunder. "You're too late." The floorboards split open, light bursting through the cracks. Dana stumbled back as the house groaned around her. The sound of electricity filled the air, a million whispers tangled in static. Then she heard Carter again, faint but determined. The basement. "Go," Dana ran. Down the hall, through the door, down the crumbling steps. The basement smelled like ozone and smoke. In the center of the room stood a massive steel generator, its core glowing like molten light. Wires crawled along the ceiling, pulsing faintly with blue energy. The hum here was deafening. Dana approached slowly, eyes squinting against the glare. The generator's control panel was old analog switches, dials, and a single red lever marked override. She reached for it and stopped. Dalton's reflection appeared again. Not in glass this time, but in the metal surface of the generator. His face was warped, flickering like a flame. "You think turning it off will fix this?" he hissed. "You'll kill everyone connected to the grid. Pearson, Carter, even me. You'll destroy what's left of them." Dana's jaw tightened. Maybe that's the point. Dalton's reflection sneered. "You'd burn your own soul to stop me." She didn't answer. She pulled her gun, aimed it at the generator's core, and fired. The bullet sparked against metal, embedding deep. The machine roared in protest, lights flaring wildly. Sparks flew across the floor. The air filled with the smell of burning wires. "Dana?" Carter's voice cried from the radio clipped to her belt. "Do it. End it." She grabbed the lever, yanked it down with all her strength. The generator screamed. A blinding surge of light exploded outward, throwing her backward. Every bulb, every wire, every circuit in the house came alive in a single pulse of white fire through the light. She saw them faces, hundreds of them flickering in and out of existence. The trapped memories of the townspeople, the echoes of experiments, the lives stolen by the project. And in the center of it all, Thomas Pearson stood smiling for the first time. "Thank you," he whispered, his body dissolving into the light. Then came Dalton's voice, distant and furious. "You can't kill the light." The blast consumed everything. When Dana opened her eyes, she was lying on the street outside. The house was gone, only a blackened foundation remained, smoke curling into the gray sky. The morning light was soft and quiet. For the first time in years, the street lamps stood dark. She coughed, sat up, and looked around. Carter's cruiser was parked nearby, door open, radio silent. On the ground beside it lay his badge whole again. She picked it up slowly, turning it over in her hand. The metal was warm, the air felt different, lighter somehow. It's peaceful. Then she saw it, the faint glow from one last lamppost at the end of the street. Just one dot, it flickered once, twice, then steadied. Asterisk inside the glass for the briefest moment. She thought she saw two silhouettes, Thomas Pearson and Carter standing side by side, smiling, and then the light went out. Weeks later, the town of Millbrook rebuilt. The story in the local paper called the fire an electrical accident. They didn't mention the project, the generator, or the people trapped inside. But every night, when Dana drove past Maple Street, she slowed her cruiser just a little and looked toward the empty lot where the Pearson house once stood. It was always dark now, except sometimes, only sometimes, a single lantern's glow flickered in the distance. And when it did, she could swear she heard a man's voice whisper, "Find me before the light goes out."